Hello everyone, are you curious about oil paints? Have you tried oils on your models before, but you hated the resulting mess? Have you heard of the oil dots technique? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this video is for you. As you can see, all you have to do to get started is shake the oil brusher and open it. This kind of mascara applicator is super easy to use. There's no dripping at all, and you don't need an additional brush. Just lightly dab it at the panel, creating a few dots, hence oil dots technique, and then with a flat brush, ideally with an angled tip, spread the oil as you see fit. You might think that it looks terrible, but don't panic. You can see that I'm not really being very careful, it's just a matter of spreading the oil more or less uniformly. And now, with a slightly smaller brush, dampened but not wet, with ammo odorless thinner, I am beginning the blending process. You want to drag or push the oil paint, not completely remove it. It's similar to the motions you would use when dry brushing. You will have noticed that I'm only doing vertical strokes. The reason for this is that I want to create the effect of accumulated dust or dirt. In vehicles like this with vertical panels, dust would accumulate in one area and then run down, creating streaks. This is not the only effect you can create through oil dots, as we will discuss later, but it is the one I've gone for in this particular case. Right now, I'm also pushing the oils down, trying to divide the upper and lower halves of this panel, which will let more of the gray gradient in between be seen through. After all, weathering shouldn't completely obscure your paint job, right? There is no right or wrong here. It is all a matter of taste and of recreating the effect that you want. As you can see, the panel is constantly changing under my brush. This can be unnerving at first, as it all seems a little bit random, but with some practice, you will learn to embrace this and really enjoy the process. I am by no means an expert, but I can honestly tell you that this is the technique that I find the most relaxing. I would say it's almost hypnotic. Remember also that provided you have varnished your model first, which is a must, you can always remove all of the oils if needed by applying more thinner. The reason the varnish is important is that without that protective layer, if you become, let's say, overly enthusiastic with the thinner, you could remove the paint as well as the oils. Well, you don't want that, do you? However, unlike for enamel or oil washes, which I've covered in other videos, you don't want that varnish to be a gloss one, or else the oils will become too runny when in contact with the thinner. As you can see, it's quite easy to remove the excess oil. I mentioned before that there were other possibilities beside the dust or dirt effects. Another thing you can do is make this much more subtle, forget about the streaks, and blend the oil some more. In this case, what you end up with is what military modelers call a filter. In other words, you tint a panel, changing its tone in a very subtle fashion. In models which, like this one, have large flat panels in one or two colors, this tonal variation can greatly enhance your model. I'm doing pretty much the same thing on this panel. The funny thing is that the bottom of this panel has some additional shading that I created with another ammo product called a shader. In fact, I recorded the application of this before I recorded this video, but in the end, I decided to publish this one with the oil brushers first. Yes, I know it doesn't seem to make any sense, but anyway. One thing I've noticed lately is that in our hobby, there seems to be some kind of mystique to oil paints, as if there were some kind of forbidden, arcane art only a chosen few could ever hope to master. Well, if nothing else, I hope this video has convinced you otherwise. So, would I recommend the oil brushers? Absolutely. The range of colors on offer is also huge, and many of them are great for our purposes. But above all, guys, I recommend that you try the oil dots technique. I hope that I've convinced you of how easy and effective it is. Just another weapon in our weathering arsenal. So if you like practical, no-nonsense reviews, subscribe now, and remember,
in the grim darkness of the 31st millennium, there is only weathering.